What's going on, everybody? It is TripleCrown24 back today. And I wanted to talk about my strategy for pricing my sports cards for selling them. And it goes just beyond looking at what the last comp was or the last couple of sales on eBay and pricing it based off of that. There's a lot of cards that I deal with that have not sold in quite some time. In fact, every once in a while, I get some that I can't find anything on. And I use a variety of sales data tools to kind of find that information. And it's all the usual suspects. It's 130 point, it's Terapeak, it's Alt, it's Card Ladder, you name it. I've probably used it at some point in time. But there is a lot more to it that goes into how I determine a price for my cards. And I kind of wanted to explain it with different types of cards that I put out for sale, whether it be on eBay or some other online platform, or it's something that I do in person at a show. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to get going with a card that is a little bit easier to determine the price. Joe Burrow, base rookie from Chronicles. This is the Gridiron Kings. And a card like this sells, I would guess, multiple times a day, every single day on eBay. Because of that, the price is pretty set in stone. There's not too much variance with a card like this. And I've sold enough cards that are like this one or this one. I've had plenty of these Gridiron Kings where I know what I can get for them. And that's $5 a piece. I take these to shows. I put them out at $5 a piece. Usually I'm buying them for $1 to $3 a piece, depending on the kind of bulk discount that I'm getting on them. It's not easy to find them at those prices, but every once in a while I'm able to get that opportunity. And I move them pretty efficiently at that price. What do I mean by efficiently? I don't move them too fast where I feel that they're just going for way too cheap, but I also don't have to grind it out with them. It's not like these are sitting for 6 months at a time and I can't move them. $5 a piece. It's competitive and it's priced pretty well to sell. Now, what's funny about this card in particular is that I had another one of these at the last Xenia show that I set up that I'm preparing to set up for this again as of the time of recording. And at the last show, I had a bunch of cards similar to this one, and some that were like Score or Luminance or Legacy, those kind of lower end base rookies. Again, all in that $5 tier that I put them out at. Someone came up and tried to buy them all for $3 a piece from me. And another one of his dealer buddies came up, tried to do the same thing. Told him I can't do that. Usually I'm willing to work with people, but on the cheaper stuff like this, I just can't do it. And it's because, again, I'm buying them at $3 a piece. I know I can get 5 for them, and I don't have a problem getting 5 for them. It's if it was a kid, that would be different. But it's another dealer who's basically looking to do the same thing that I am. It just wouldn't make any sense to do that. I don't really need to move them at that price. And lo and behold, I go over to their table, and what do I see? The very same cards or very similar cards. They're all priced at $12. But they were just telling me a few minutes ago how they don't think they can get more than 5 for them. And I was thinking, well, if you don't think you can get more than 5 for them, why do you got them out at $12? And I kind of reaffirmed my decision not to kind of cave into those. So knowing that I'll see these same cards put out by other people at least $6, perhaps 8. Most commonly, a card like this, someone has out at $10. And I like to call it the Joe tax. For those who don't know, I'm near the Cincinnati area, and people pay extremely strong on Burrow and Chase. Whenever I have their cards, I can mark them up just a little bit just because I know that people will usually pay that price on them. And some people might get a little carried away with that sometimes, but it's not unheard of for me to even see these out at 15 or 20 bucks a piece with some dealers. But I put them out at 5. It's usually one of, if not the cheapest in the room. And I don't have too much problem moving them at that price because that's what see a lot of them go for. Let's move on to something that is a little bit tougher to determine. And it's a graded card. This will be the only graded card. I don't have it framed where I can show you the grades, so I'll just show you really quickly. This is a PSA 10. It is the Series 1 silver pack. Jordan Alvarez Blue Refractor. There's a reason why I denote it Series 1. I'll tell you that in a minute. But PSA 10, they are easy to fall over. Sorry about the jump scare. Thankfully, the slab is fine. These are numbered to 150, and you can see what my price sticker is on it. I went ahead and looked this one up when I got it in, and the last one had sold for $275. The only problem with that is that that was on July 14th of 2022. So there hasn't been a sale of this card in this grade in over a year. Now, some dealers I see do price their stuff based on that last sale, regardless of where it was. To tell you another quick story, I was at a show earlier this year, and I kid you not, I was looking at a card. The dealer told me what he had it priced at, and he had it priced at the same price as the last sale. Only thing is that that last sale was in March of 2021, end of March 2021 to be more specific. So pretty much near the time that things were at their absolute peak. And knowing this particular player, it was a Kobe Bryant card. Is Kobe cheap now? By any means, no. Has his market rebounded a little bit? Yeah, I would say so. But it dipped pretty hard since 2021. And I just didn't think that that card was worth nearly what he was asking. Especially it was an all-time high price. In fact, the last time it sold, it was double what any had previously sold for that I could find. And, maybe someone would be willing to pay that price, but it wasn't going to be me. I didn't think it was worth that much. So a lot of times, for example, I had a Patrick Mahomes card at the National. You guys might remember that as well, the patch auto out of 5. And then people were like, oh, well, I'm seeing the last one at this price. Only problem, the last one was sold in early November of 2022, meaning it had been 8 months, and Patrick Mahomes, I don't think, lost a football game except for maybe one little, I think maybe they lost a game to the Colts at some point late last season. But point being, he won another Super Bowl last year. And he was the MVP too, if I'm not mistaken. And this is a card number to 5. But because it last sold for that price last time, they can't pay that for it, right? Nothing has changed in the last 8 months for a card number to 5. And what's funny about that too, I know I'm going on a tangent here, is that the same dealer, but I was absurd for asking for $2,000 for this card, which it last sold for $1,800. I don't think 2,000 was unreasonable. And they had a card from the year before, so it was a third year rather than mine, which was a fourth year, of a worse patch, higher numbered, from a similar product, and it was priced out at $7,500. But I was the one who was insane asking $2,000 for mine. It's crazy sometimes. So what do you do about a card like this? Well, I don't think that there are any more available for sale right now, so I can't price it based off of what other people have theirs at. And I have to kind of take a look at, are there PSA 9s that have sold recently, or are there raw sales? And there are raw sales to go around. Are they plentiful? No, but there's enough where you can kind of draw some conclusions. And I know there's a lot of people out there who like to use multipliers on raw cards. And sometimes those multipliers, I think, are pretty useful. You can use it to roughly guesstimate a value of a card, but they're not set in stone. And that's not always a straight multiplier on certain cards to determine value. If it was, it would be extremely easy. And a lot of people would be really successful doing this, but it's a lot more fluid than that. And it doesn't always work out that way. I kind of took a look at, you can look at Card Ladder or Alt, and they'll give you a rough estimation of what they think it's worth. And some people use that as gospel. I had a guy who I tried to sell a card to at a show. He looked it up at Card Ladder, and Card Ladder gave it a 1 out of 5 confidence rating, meaning that this is just a very rough estimate of what they think it's worth. He took that as gospel, and he said, I have to pay what Card Ladder says it's worth. Well, okay then. So, I can use those tools, and sometimes I think that they're pretty spot on. There are times where I think they're either way too high or way too low, but it's nice to maybe have that opinion to consider, but I don't use it as gospel at the same time. So I settled on this price of $150. I'll probably take a little bit less for it, but I figured this was a fair price. And in general, this is just something that it's a price that I could see someone willing to pay on a card like this. To me, it's reasonable. Maybe it's a little high, but I can always work my way down if it turns out I end up being too high. I don't always nail it on the first try. I know what I have into the card as well. This is a number that I feel comfortable starting at. Let's go to something that's even a bit more challenging because maybe some of the detectives out there can dig up something on this, but I could not find any sales of this particular card. Goal line graphs from 2020 playbook. It's a patch auto of Nick Chubb. It is 5 of 5, player worn on the patch, as is tradition with Panini. Let me move Mr. Burrow and Mr. Alvarez out of the way here. Give you a better look at the Chubb patch auto. You'll see I have this one priced at $1.30. I have no problem telling you guys exactly what I paid for this. It was either 70 or 75, because I do have a problem telling you exactly because I can't remember exactly. But it was one of those two. I've got it on my spreadsheet somewhere. But I saw this at a shop, and there are no sales that I can find of this particular card. Being out of 5, it's definitely going to create a challenge. And even if there was a sale, chances are it probably wasn't recent, given that this card, again, it was released in 2020. It's a product that isn't too popular, and who knows, maybe someone listed it in a way where it was difficult to find. That does happen sometimes, where people will poorly word their titles on eBay or wherever it may be, and that will lead to maybe a lower price, or it's just not going to be detected in your search results when you're trying to look something up. What did I do for this one? Well, I took a look at different Nick Chubb patch autos out of 5. Now, my patch is pretty nice here, I would say. It's about as nice as you get for the Browns. It's got the orange, brown, and white on it. And it's chunky. It's got different breaks in it. It's nice and well balanced. It's very aesthetically pleasing, I would say, just the way that it is set up there. It is a sticker auto, but he does keep it all on sticker. Now, of course, I prefer on card, as I'm sure pretty much everybody would, but I take that into consideration. It's not a rookie year card. It's a third-year card, so I'm not going to charge what maybe some of his rookie year stuff goes for. I took a look at what stuff out of 5 of his has gone for, and perhaps what some of the other parallels of this card have gone for, and kind of mix it all together, and this was the price I came up with. This was kind of on the lower end of a lot of his patch autos that are out of 5, because again, it's a player worn patch. It's not game used. I know most of it is player worn, and even if it says it's game used, yeah, who really knows, right? But on something like this, mine is the only one available to my knowledge, and I kind of get to set the price for it. Now, is this a make or break card for a lot of Nick Chubb collectors? No, probably not. In fact, I'll tell you right now that probably nobody's asking a Nick Chubb collector, hey, do you have the 2020 playbook goal line graphs patch auto out of 5? But it's still a cool piece. And this is a price that I feel is pretty reasonable for this card. And it's a price, again, that I could see someone paying for it. So I settled on this price, and also just based it off of what I see, the market value of some of his other patch autos available. If someone's in the market for a Nick Chubb patch auto, don't want to pay up for a rookie, I try to price this one competitively as a nice alternative option. Last one up here. I'm going to take this down. This is a card that is actually already sold, and I did something unthinkable on this one. I paid 150% comp on it. I know, right? It's a Chad Johnson, also known as Chad Ochocinco, 2021 Prism Gold, number to 10. And I'm going to apologize in advance here to my good friend Eric those back pages, because I'm going to say it. This is the true gold, numbered out of 10. This isn't the shimmer. This isn't the donut circle. This isn't the wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube men. It's the gold, just regular old gold. And most of you will know that I'm a sucker for gold prisms or gold refractors. This one was no exception. Anytime I see one, I always have to ask about it, especially if it's from actual prism. And or if I see one and I see it priced, I always have to consider it just because I love gold prisms. And through acquiring enough of them and seeing enough of them, I kind of have a general idea where I think I would want to be at for every gold prism that I come across at this point. This was one where the sales on it are kind of weird because you'll see within the last 90 days there's only been one that's sold. It's a card that's out of 10. It's not a product that's really being open right now. 2021 Prism Hobby. You don't see too many breaks of it. And because of that, looking at that sale, it was at $20. Someone bought it outright at $20 plus $1 shipping. And when I saw that, I'm like, okay, that was lower than what the guy was asking. This guy was asking $30 shipped. This was on the Discord. And I kind of thought about it. I'm like, let me see what this card has done in the past beyond that. So I do my diligence and I go back in time. I see a sale the very first time one popped up in October 22 for $125. I'm like, oh wow, that is a lot. I kind of look around and see, all right, where's really the truth here? Where does this really lie? I saw one for 67 and I saw one for 78. And one of them actually was this exact same one, minus 4 of 10 here. And I saw one out there that was 4 of 10. And I kind of was looking at it and I'm like, okay, I think it's probably closer to what this number is. But if you were just looking at that last comp of $20 and saying, okay, last comp was 20, I would be at that or a little bit less. I don't think that guy would have taken it. He probably would have told me no thanks. Or maybe he would have had some choice words for me. Hopefully he would have just said no thanks. But at $30, I thought, you know what? That's a reasonable price. I think that I could probably double my money on that. And if not, I don't mind holding it. It's a gold prism. I remember Chad Johnson pretty well. I mean, he was a big time here when I was growing up. And we'll always have at least a small place in Cincinnati sports history. I mean, is he the most popular name? No, but still a popular name, someone that people will remember and probably collect his cards to some extent. I went ahead and pulled the trigger on this. I held on to it and I tossed it on eBay just to kind of see what people would offer me on it. Well, sure enough, I have someone who starts negotiations. We settle on a price. I sell it for $58 plus $4.50 shipping. So when you factor in the shipping price, the buyer paid more than triple what the last one had sold for, or right around triple what the last one had sold for, all in cost. And that to me just goes to show that if you're only looking at what the last sale was, you're going to miss out on so many cards. If you're just someone who's looking to collect something, just because it went for one price one time, does not mean that you're entitled to it at that price, nor that you're going to find it again at that price. And that comes down to you kind of have to assess, okay, how bad do I really want this card? Do I need it for a certain project I'm working on? What's my likelihood to see it again? And if I do see it again, at what price point is it going to be? And those are just kind of questions that you have to answer on a case by case or card by card basis. Something that I've learned the hard way. Again, another quick story. I'll reference one of my good friends again, Eric, those back pages. There was a card that we were looking at on eBay one day. I was kind of debating between a couple of cards. It was a Miguel Cabrera card back when I was super collecting him. And I said, nah, I could probably get one later for cheaper than that. I'll hold off on it. Well, it was $100 and it was for a 2012 Gold Prism PSA 10. Do I even need to say it? I never saw one again for that price, nor will I probably ever see one again for that price. And Eric told me I would not let that go. I didn't listen. He was right. I should not have let it go for that price. And I never ended up owning one of those when I was super collecting because I missed out on that one. And just because that one had sold at that price before doesn't mean that I was going to find another one for $100. There's a reason that cards go up in price. It's because someone was willing to pay for more than what the last one sold for, especially when you have low numbered stuff that is from good quality sets that people are interested in. Now, I'm not saying that Prism is everyone's cup of tea, of course. That's a huge generalization, but Generally speaking, Prism is fairly popular among a large group. And kind of the last thing that I take into consideration, I guess 2 things, is this Chad Johnson card, what is my target audience for this card, and who am I competing against? I've mentioned this before that looking at what else is available, mine is the only game in town. When I put this up on eBay, I was the only one that had it up. Now, does that mean I'm just gonna put it up for $500 and hope that someone would offer me something really high? No, because I don't realistically see someone paying $500. I try to put up all my stuff where if it's on eBay or it's a sticker at a show, it is just tempting enough where someone would pay full sticker for it. Maybe sometimes I push that a little bit, but you can always go down. You can't go up necessarily because usually someone's going to snag it before you get a chance to go up. And when I take that into consideration, I'm also keeping in mind who is the buyer for this card. Now, on a card like this, I'm going to tell you right now that Chad Johnson is not the top of the want list for a lot of people out there who are just looking to flip. He's a retired player, not really in the news, and doesn't have a huge hobby presence. Now, if this was Trevor Lawrence, then you might start bringing in more of a speculator, investor, flipper type of crowd. If I'm buying Bowman prospect cards, especially guys where it's their first Bowman and they're 16 years old and they've only played in the Dominican League and they're just entering rookie ball, a lot of the people who are buying those cards are speculators or flippers. And that doesn't mean that every single person is like that. I mean, there are people who really do like minor league baseball and like collecting the Bowman stuff. Again, not everyone is like that, but most likely the ultimate buyer for that is going to be someone who likes to play the prospecting game. And because of that, kind of their buying habits and how they approach a purchase is going to be different than someone who's just looking to add something to their collection. Knowing that type of buyer and knowing kind of what my clientele is going to be for these cards is absolutely crucial in me being able to acquire them and price them accordingly. Because if I have a Bowman card and I'm asking double what the last one sold for, I know that most times I'm going to have a really difficult time selling it. Not because my price is out of line, maybe it is, it could be, but usually because a lot of times the Bowman crowd is a little bit more by the numbers, and it's not as much as I don't feel that there's more people who are willing to bid up to speculate on something. That's just my experience, but hey, that's kind of how I've had it go down in my experience trying to sell this stuff. And with this Chad Johnson, I kind of figured that it was going to be someone who collects the Bengals and someone who collects the Bengals from this era, pre-Burrow times, Bengals collectors. And I think that's ultimately who it's going to go to. I don't know who this buyer is. I've never met them before, but I'll just take a wild guess that that's probably who they are. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Who knows? Or maybe it's a gold prism collector. I don't know for sure, but I can kind of get a general idea about the types of people who are going to be buying these cards. That's not 100% accurate, but it does help in establishing pricing and being able to appeal to whatever my target audience is. That is how I determine my price. That is my thesis on it. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what your comments are, or let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. I'll see you next time. Take care. Stay safe. Be kind.